KLTV sound check, KLTV sound check.
Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday meeting of the BOCC. We have our good friend Larry with us today. He's going to lead us in invocation from the. We always appreciate when you come by.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. James 1:15, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to you. Father, the number one thing you say to leaders in the Psalms is get wisdom. And I pray that you would give these leaders a real appetite and a desire to, more than anything else, want to possess your way of looking at things and your understanding of how things work best. So I'm just lifting them up to you. Would you just give them such an appetite for possessing your wisdom that it comes to their mind all the time, whether they're getting up and approaching the day or going to bed at night, or when they walk into the offices here, that they would just be saying to you, Lord, I need your wisdom to see how you want me to conduct myself as a leader. And I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Those who want to join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, today we have, we'll go through the regular stuff we have, the consent agenda and everything that's on there. At the end of the meeting, I thought we'd take a little bit of time and talk about two different things. One, Humane Society, and two, Fish and Wildlife. And just bring you up to speed on some things that you've seen out in the papers or just things that we're working on. So, and we'll handle that after we finish with our motion items. Okay, I'd look for approval of minutes of February 23rd, 24th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of February 23rd through the 24th.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Any comments, corrections? Anyone? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. I'll run down through consent agenda here fairly quick. Public Works, we do have a call for hearing for a non-exclusive cable franchise from Comcast Communications LLC. This public hearing will be held March 24th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. in this room. Agreements, contracts, bid awards, items 2 through 5 are all agreements with the Sheriff's Office for use of the Sheriff's shooting range. You can see the Cowlitz Tribe, Woodland Police, Castle Rock Police. I think last week or the week before, you saw Longview, Kelso, Kalama. So Event Center, items 6 and 7 are two grants that they've received. One is a health and safety grant for improving the lighting at the south end of the grounds and integrated a new security camera. That was a grant from the Washington State Department of Agriculture. And also another one from the Department of Agriculture to do some upgrades on one of the cattle barns. I think one of the cattle barns in the amount of $23,500. The first grant was $186,094. These are both reimbursement grants. It means that we'll go out and expend the money and then we'll submit the bills and get reimbursed for them. Item 8, amendment number 3 to the interlocal agreement with the Cowlitz PFD regarding the design, development, financing, construction, and operation of the regional conference and special events center. I think we've talked about it quite a bit. I think You know that they're doing some modifications over there, some expansions, some improvements. Noxious weeds, they get a grant from the Forest Service pretty much yearly to do some work. We do some work for them up in Gifford Pinchot. And that's what this is, a grant from the U.S. Forest Service in an amount of $46,000 to do work up by the monument. Public Works. Interlocal cooperative purchasing agreement with local government cooperative to obtain most favorable pricing. I think this is a place out of Idaho that we're getting a matched price, best price, okay. Supplement number 2, local agency agreement, supplement number 2, revised prospectus from Washington State Department of Transportation for the Allender Road Bridge. We've talked about this. This is a bridge out in the Riderwood area. We've talked about it quite a few times. This is pretty much a paperwork thing, started by WashDOT. They wanted it to look a little different than how we had it set up. Change order number 2 to the contract with Columbia River Contractors for the 2024 guardrail installation and repair project. It addresses substantial greater damage to guardrails and higher material prices. Those things are like magnets. You just get them up there and people hit them. Increases $30,000 for a total of $502,080.75. Finance Department, we have an agreement with the Port of Klamath to provide funding assistance for their pedestrian overpass reconstruction project. This is funds coming from fuel taxes for paths and trails. Fuel taxes set aside a little bit that you can do paths and trails, and this will replace the current bridge, pedestrian bridge over the tracks. It'll make it ADA. And it'll be doing a lot of work down there. Resolutions. Resolution to authorize issuing bonds on behalf of the Cowlitz Public Facilities District, allowing the collection of sales and use tax of 0.033 to refund the 2025 limited Go funding bonds and improvements to the regional center. This is another one we talked about when they started that project. We reissued bonds again for that. Commissioners, resolution rescinding resolution number 19113 and updating the excellence and service policy. We updated our expense policy and there were some inconsistencies between what we did in this policy and the expense policy, and this brings them into alignment is what they're telling me. Board correspondence, letter from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to Pacific Corps Owners Dam Safety Program. Letter to Ryan Sullivan, appointing him to the Public Facilities Board for your term that expires into February 2030. Letter to Steve Jewell, appointing him to the Rodeo Board. This 4-year term expires into October 2029. Letter to Mike Karnofsky, reappointing him to the Parks and Recreation Board, representing District 1, a 6-year term that expires into December 2031. Letter to Brian Magnuson, reappointing him to the Public Facilities District Board, a 4-year term that expires into February 2030. Letter to Representative Marie Glusenkamp Perez, supporting a grant funding request for Cowlitz 911 Public Authority, expanding its first responder radio communications network. A letter on behalf of the Public Utility District number 1 regarding support for an I-5 corridor electric distribution capacity upgrades. And a letter Washington County's risk pool supporting Senate Bill 6239 to create a claims commission for certain tort claims against the state, including counties. This is a move. It's a small move, but it's moved down the road to trying to get some tort claims so that these awards are controlled a little better. Recorded road and utility easement for right-of-way purposes from Ryan and Shantina Ellis for the Sweet Birch Storm Sewer Repair Project. Recorded perpetual water and utility easement for right-of-way purposes from Carol Ross for the Shadow Mountain Water Reservoir Project. And then a warranty deed for right-of-way purposes from Carol Ross for the Shadow Mountain Water Reservoir Project. Shadow Mountain is out by Tootle. This is an area that we've applied some ARPA funding to. The wells out there have a high level of arsenic, and so we're supplying there's a main water line that runs out to Tootle. So this project kind of brings that water into there, and people will have the option of tapping into that instead of digging wells. Vouchers last week in the amount of $6,913,524.11. That is consent. Questions, comments on consent? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to approve consent agenda. Last call. Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion items. First on the list, I see building and planning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Before you today, we have a request for signature for final plat. This is one that we had previously did a closed record public hearing for. It's the final plat for the KT West subdivision off of Payne Road. All applicable code requirements and conditions of approval have been met. And so we are recommending the final plat for signature and recording today.
And basically what it did was add one lot to
Correct.
it was a 4-lot thing. And
Yep, it was a
pushed it out to
4-lot.
5.
Yep, 4-lot short subdivision that was approved administratively. And then they went to add a 5th lot, so which triggered the rural subdivision requirements.
Okay. Any questions up here? Any questions on this project? Okay, entertain a motion for it.
Move approval of building and planning's final approval for the KT West Rural Subdivision plat.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the final approval on the KT West Rural Subdivision plat. One last opportunity. Okay, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. You need us?
Yeah.
I'm number 3. Okay, Public Works.
Good morning, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. We're bringing forth change order number 1 to the Barnes Drive Emergency Repair Project. 2 items on this are mainly administrative auditing trail cleanups. So as we were going through the process, we found 2 of the original bid items had incorrect mathematics in the contract that we signed. So we're correcting those 2 items. That is item number 4, roadway excavation, which was an increase of $15,400 just by correcting the math. And then bid item number 8, crush surfacing base course, correcting the math brought an additional $975. In addition, we're adding $12,150 for additional debris removal down in the creek bed. When we got down there, there was more asphalt and material that needed to be removed per Fish and Wildlife's direction. So we're adding an additional $12,150 for that. bringing a change order total of $28,525, which would increase the contract approval amount to $674,850. Just to give everybody a little reference, this was the roadway that collapsed up in the Castle Rock area, north of Castle Rock, due to the storm. It took us 11 working days to complete the repair. Quigg Brothers was out there and diligently worked. So we rebuilt the embankments. We added a 60-inch diameter overflow pipe, so a 5-foot diameter overflow pipe to help prevent this if we ever have such high water again. And what we're seeing based on the quantity tabs that we're finalizing up, the actual cost of the contract is going to actually be more like $450,000. So we'll be bringing that closeout in a few weeks.
So the closeout, we expect this could be less than this estimate.
Yes, it's going to be quite a bit less
Okay.
than the assessment, because when we did this project, it was, oh, the hole is about this long by this wide, and we did very rough estimated quantities.
Yeah.
Susan, could you just clarify what mathematical errors mean? Like, was it the
Oh.
misstroke of a 10 key, or how did we end up having to make so many changes?
So I believe, excuse me, that when they carried their extension out, so the original bid amount, we'll take bid item number 4, was listed as $72,600. But when you did the math of 22,000 cubic yards times the unit price of 40, it actually comes out to 88,000. So somebody along the line did a miscalculation in the math. This is usually when excuse me, when we get our bids normally, this is our normal bid process. These would have been caught prior to the award of the contract because we're very thorough. We're doing a bid review. So these are the items. It was just, they wrote down, we had the amount, they wrote down their unit price, and they wrote down an amount on the side, and the math didn't check out. And the way our contracts are written, unit price prevails, not the price that they have in the column. So if it had gone the other way, so let's say they had written down 90,000, we would have been correcting it down by $2,000.
Okay. Any questions on this contract? I know the residents are really happy that we got that back. Okay, and entertain a motion.
Move approval of change order number 1 to contract with Quigley Brothers.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. One more call. Okay, call for a vote. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
This hasn't anything to do with this, but yesterday we approved emergency resolution to, we had our leachate line break coming down from the landfill. I don't know if anybody saw on Facebook, there was a picture of gushing, and we've taken care of that, and they were out. So we're getting that repaired. I came back from Woodland Council last night, and they're out there working. They were out working at night with the lights going. So I know they want to get that done.
Yes, they buttoned it up, and we've turned on the pumps.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah, so they just turned on the pumps a little while ago. So we're watching the line. We'll know in 2 hours if it makes it all the way down to public.
We have
Works.
a device, they call it a hog
Pig.
pig
Yes.
that runs down that line and cleans it every so often. And it came down and got stuck and formed pressure, and it come up. So we had to fix that. All right. Juvenile detention. This is, and I see George is on, and I can kind of explain this a little bit because we talked about this a bit yesterday. Our juvenile detention does contracts with other counties, Columbia County, Waukegan, Pacific, entities that don't have a facility themselves. This came up yesterday as the current contract is expiring or has expired. It's somewhere in that range, and we're trying to make a decision whether we want to renew the contract. And so George got us a little information, 2029 from these various contracts, there's whatever there, we brought in $69,000 in revenue, and we're projected to bring in 78, a little over 78 for 2026. And the question that was raised by us is we've seen risk, suit risk, different things in the juvenile system. Are we getting enough to make us want to take these kids from other entities and put the county at risk for some of these suits? The ones you hear a lot about, I think they call them the SAM suits, about the courts did away with the statute of limitations. So we're starting to see these come from when people aren't even alive anymore, from the 80s. I mean, it's from way back. And I think one county, well, I know one award was just astronomical. And so it has us concerned about these type of things. So George, did I kind of cover what we talked about a little bit yesterday?
Good morning, Commissioners. George Moya, Juvenile Court. Yes, that pretty much sums it up.
So we're having a discussion. We thought we'd kind of open this up and say, is this the kind of, do we want to take this risk on, or is it at a point where we say, hey, we'll handle our county kids, but we're not willing to take other county kids?
Well, I also think a part of I feel like we're contributing to the problem that we have in the system, in that the states that we are subsidizing and taking their kids, they're not going to push to the state to change things as long as we keep taking their kids at a discounted price, right? So if we cancel those contracts and then they have nowhere to go, or where are they going to take their kids? We need to put pressure on the state to start fixing some of these issues that they've got. And as long as we're the middleman and taking these counties' kids and not allowing them the opportunity to go to the state and argue on their behalf, I feel like we're allowing this stuff to take place by keeping those contracts in force.
Yeah.
I would much rather not have those contracts in force, get those counties to the point where they have to go to the state and say, hey, this is a problem.
And here's why they're never going to change. Just to give you a little, and I'm giving you rough numbers, it costs us between probably $3 to $4 million to operate that facility over there. The contract calls for they pay us $161 a day. They don't have a facility in their county. They don't have that cost. We're bearing the burden of that cost, and we're getting, in 2025, we've got 69,000 contributed for us on a place that cost us over $3 million to operate. So to Commissioner Rader's point, if they want to share that facility, it has to be much more than 161 or whatever today.
If I may, Commissioners, I do want to point out that this is a Columbia County contract, so this is Oregon. They will not advocate for Washington facilities or tort claims or any of the liability tort claims that we're seeing. So this contract is with Oregon, which is with a county that we do quite a few. I mean, as you can see from the data, they use our facility the most. And when you look at the amount that was reimbursed to us in 2025, based on the 134 days of usage, that amounts to a $414 bed rate, which is right in that sweet spot of the actual cost to us. So I just want to point that out.
So George, can you walk me through what normally goes into doing the calculations to figure out what the bed rate is?
Our operational expenses, FTEs, medical, that goes into the rate. I know that I presented yesterday that we, as the court administrators around the state, are advocating and having conversations with the state that pretty much drives that formula across the state, something that we can all agree to that would really hone down on the true expenses. Because we know that every county is different, every facility is different, the size is different, and their population is different. So we're trying to agree to an agreed formula across the state. And I would be happy to invite our finance director to help with that as well. Maybe point out things that we are probably not seeing from a financial point of view.
George, do we know why Oregon would prefer to bring their kids out of state as opposed to their own neighboring counties?
Yes, it's quite of a drive for them. I know the next facility would be Multnomah County, and I'm not sure if Multnomah County is taking any other contracts. They do contracts with other neighboring counties in Oregon. And so I think the biggest driver for them is access and close proximity. You know, transferring someone to an hour and a half drive one way, you know, you use resources in motor pool, staff, transport. So it's easier to just come here to Longview.
So the formula used to calculate the bed rate is a standardized formula across our state.
Not right now. It's not standardized, but everyone is going with the 250 rate for the daily bed use rate contract. Now, Columbia County is a little different. They pay us no matter what on a monthly basis, whether they use it 1 day a month or 2 days a month. So that's the difference with them, and that's why their rate is not at the 250 rate. But again, based on the days use and the revenue received from them, it's about a $414 rate for them.
Yeah, my concern is that even though they're from Oregon, our Washington state getting rid of the statute of limitations, if something happens, it's happening in our facility. And we're the ones that are taking on that liability.
That is a valid point. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I'm trying to understand the disparity between if we have a $3 million a year cost on the facility, divide that by 365 days, you're over $8,000 a day. That's a hell of a disparity between $250 bed rate or even $161 bed rate. That's a hell of a jump between that and $8,000 a day.
Oh yeah, and that's what we're arguing with the state that's not comparable. That it needs to be much higher.
And we have to staff that facility, whether we have 1 or whether we have 12.
Yes, sir.
How many other contracts do we have with other counties outside of Columbia?
We have Wahkiakum County, Pacific County, the state contract. We're working on Clatsop County. It's in their hands right now at Clatsop's commissioner's agenda. And so those contracts will be coming soon. We also have an MOU with Lewis County, and that's more of a kind of beneficial for conflict cases that sometimes we will need to transfer someone here to Lewis County based on safety issues, and likewise Lewis County will do the same.
So we have a total of 6 counties that are utilizing our facility, and we bring in a total of $69,000 in 2025 with all those contracts.
Yes, and if you look at the data, we're getting about 212 days used of all those contracts. So it's not a lot.
No, and it's quite a bit of exposure for not a lot. Liability risk exposure, in my opinion.
So then I would ask the pleasure whether we want to renew or not renew this thing.
How do we fix it?
Yeah, even though it's in Oregon, I gotta think Oregon's facing the same situation. The fact that they're not going to Multnomah and Multnomah's not taking them, they're doing the same thing that we are. When I was back in DC, I did speak with the Franklin County prosecuting attorney about the situation that they've got going on over there, you know, where they're dealing with their youth facility. And he just, and so what the SAM claims are really one of the things that was a driving force with them too. Like the cost of, and the liability exposure that we have is no longer worth it to us to share. If we want to separate and at least have our own responsibility for our liabilities.
So I just needed a form of a motion to either renew this contract or not renew this thing, whichever way we want to go.
George, what's your recommendation? That's it.
I hear your concerns and they're legitimate concerns. Tort claims are a real issue. So I'm with you guys. I'm torn. On the one hand, we are receiving revenue. We're receiving the most revenue out of this county, Columbia County in Oregon. On the other hand, we do have that exposure. And how do you defend yourself against exposure?
I mean, I look at it and our detention facilities are our highest risk and highest cost. And, you know, I understand that revenue sounds good, but at what expense? I mean, that revenue is going to come at a cost, you know, possibly down the road. And we're already facing giant increases in premium.
I think that one SAM award, wasn't it right in the neighborhood of $12 million?
Oh, 11
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That eats up 69,000 in revenue in a heartbeat.
Well, obviously, we're not gonna start billing people $8,000 a day for
Yeah.
for occupancy at the juvenile center. So what's the solution?
Well, and that's why I asked George if it's standardized, because maybe we can, I mean, I don't know that we can charge them enough to make it worth our while, but it seems to me that if we did go through with this, that we would at least charge somewhat of a premium to take that liability on, as opposed to subsidizing our bed rate.
Well, it would need to be a premium because let's be honest, if we found a county that would take our kids for $161 a day, we'd jump on it in a heartbeat.
We'd send them all. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I make a motion that we do not approve the contract with Columbia for the youth facility.
Okay. We have a motion to not approve this renewal. Any questions, comments?
If we don't approve it, George, where does that leave it?
Well, we won't have a contract with them and they will need to find other resources. And they will need to change their operations. I think this will just terminate our contract with them. I think I would need to send them well, it expired, but I think I would still need to send them an official notice of cancellation or contract termination.
When does it expire?
It has expired.
It has expired, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll call for a vote, and the vote is to not renew this contract. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passes.
See what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
George.
you.
Okay, we have a couple items we want to talk. You want to? Oh, we tackle fish and wildlife because the other might
Sure.
be a little bit. You okay
Sure.
with that? Yeah.
I just wanted to bring up a couple of things that I noticed. And that is that when I was in DC, I was noticing we had a smelt dip going on, and we had game wardens that were weighing people's buckets to make sure that they didn't have a couple ounces over the number of smelt that they're allotted by the state. And then I also saw a picture of about 120 sea lions down at the mouth of the Cowlitz, just gorging themselves on those same smelt. So I started to ask myself, what are our state's priorities? Is it really about protecting wildlife and our natural resources? You know, what's really going on? And as I look and evaluate the decisions that our Wildlife Commission has made in the last 5 years with everything from fall bear hunting, spring bear hunting, reducing our hunting days, reducing the number of limits of fish, our fishing season. The commissioners that sit on that board are appointed by the governor. And there are 2 commissioners that vote with what science and biology tells them. And there's an issue going on right now on the board because apparently 4 or 5 of the members who voted to stop the spring bear season were in cahoots with an animal rights activist group. And so they bypassed the science and what the wildlife staff was telling them and what the biologists were telling them about the importance of having those seasons and keeping those seasons open. And they instead voted to vote against the science and the biology and to close that season down. The two commissioners that we really need to stay on that board because there will be a shift in power and a balance in power. So the 2 commissioners that we need on there, you guys, are James Anderson and Molly Linville. So I'm putting this out there, and I'm not sure what we want to do as a commission or as a board, but please call your local legislators, your senators, and your congressmen, and let them know to call the governor and to affirm James Anderson and Molly Linville on that board, because they're really the only ones who are doing what is best for the animals and what's best for our state's resources. They're voting in favor of what the science shows and what the biologists are telling them as far as proper management of our resources. And it's really unfortunate because what we're now starting to see is as we have more bears that are not being managed in the spring, that's calving season and fawning season for the deer and the elk. Those numbers are starting to decline now because we have more apex predators that are out there and they need to eat when they come out of hibernation. And so, like I said, the rest of the board voted against the staff's recommendation and against the biologist's recommendation to close that bear season. And so that season's been closed, and we're seeing it. It's not just that particular season. We're seeing it all across the board. There's a 38% increase in licensing and in fees from the state this year alone. And so fewer opportunities for sportsmen to enjoy our state's resources at a higher cost. And if we lose those 2 commissioners on that board, it's going to be a downhill slide pretty fast to what is and isn't taking place in our state as far as recreation goes for sporting outdoorsmen. So please call. I don't know if, I wanted to talk about if we wanted to send a letter of support for those 2 on the board to the governor, since he is the one that appoints them. And this just goes back to what we've talked about before. We have several committees of unelected people who make decisions that affect the citizens of this state with no accountability, or they don't have to answer to the citizens. They answer to the governor. And those types of boards need to go away, quite honestly. It's fine to have an advisory board, but not one that passes legislation without the will of the people and without a voice. So as you can tell, this kind of stuff really, really fires me up because we're out writing tickets because somebody's over their smelt limit, and yet they're just getting obliterated down at the mouth by sea lions, and nothing's being done about that. So that's my 2 cents on that this morning.
But remind me this afternoon, we'll talk about a support letter coming from the commissioners. It's good information. Okay, and I'm sure my teammates will chime in. I'll try and give you a little bit of history on this Humane Society contract because you're seeing a lot of that, a lot of stuff out there. And so I'll have to take you back in history just a hair so you kind of get an idea of how this has evolved. In 2023, my first year on, we ended up, the Humane Society was a Cowlitz County entity. And we signed, and they did both animal control and sheltering. And we signed a contract with them in 2023 in the amount of a little over $363,000. That's for both animal control and for sheltering. Animal control, you have 3 mandates by the state of Washington. You have to deal with dangerous animals, you have to deal with nuisance animals, you have to deal with abused animals. Those are the state mandates. And they did that for us. In August, the Humane Society, which was a Cowlitz County entity at the time, sent us a letter sent to all the entities, Longview, Kelso, everybody in the county, saying we no longer will do animal control. You'll have to figure a different way for animal control. So we took it upon ourselves, as all the entities did, Cowlitz County, and I'll give kudos to the sheriff's office. The sheriff and his team ran with it. And we, in 2024, since 2024, for the county, we have 2+ employees and equipment that do animal control for the county. The cities have likewise for theirs. It costs us right now, we spend, remember our first contract in 2023 was a little over $300,000 for animal control and sheltering. The animal control alone, we spend about $265 to $280 a year for the animal control. And I can't say enough good things about if public comment is any indication of level of service, then our folks have done an outstanding job. I had comments when it was being handled by the old Cowlitz County Humane Society. I personally have not had one negative comment since our sheriff has taken over. They've done the work. We've at the advice of our attorneys, we've updated our dangerous animal policy. We've updated our nuisance animal policy we've made some adjustments and done the work, and they've just done a really good job. They handled an abuse case last year and got that settled. They've done the work. So we went into animal control, and I can tell you, I was sitting here going, how are we going to do this? And they've done it, and they've done it better than it was done in the past. And I believe I could say that probably about all the entities. Humane Society and part of that, what we did, I'm giving you all kinds of history here, but I think it's important, is we set up some temporary kennels that we would, because we have a responsibility for the first 72 hours of an animal when we take them in. So we set up these temporary kennels, and that's another thing. We didn't know how this was going to work. And it ended up, we returned over half of those animals back to the owners. Never had to take them to a shelter. It was wildly more successful than we thought it was going to be. So then after the 72 hours, then we take them to the shelter. When the Humane Society of Southwest Washington came in and took over the one up here in 2025, our fees went from now the fee was going to be, we were going to pay our $265 or $280 to run our animal control, plus another $170 for the 1 year to shelter them. Plus we had to get rid of our shelter. They wouldn't accept the fact that we had this shelter that was returning animals. That's when it kind of dawned on me that it really wasn't about the care of the animal. It was about dollars in their pockets, because they wanted all those animals brought to them for money. And we knew at the time that we tried like heck to get a multi-year contract to try and lessen the burden on the taxpayers of this county for that, because we knew when you look at their contracts down there, they're anywhere from $700 to $900 for animals. So we knew these rates were going to go up. So we spent that year and we put it out on an RFP. We tried to find another caretaker for the sheltering part. We'd still handle the animal control. And we were unsuccessful in finding that. They came to us, as that contract was getting towards expiration, they came and presented us a 3-year contract that took it from 170 to like 256 to, with escalations to, and in the third year, just under 300,000 per year, in addition to our others. So now over a 3-year period, we're tapping in taxpayer for just under $2 million for both these services. And we didn't feel that that was reasonable. Along with that contract came an ordinance request. I shouldn't say request because pretty much they never ever requested anything. They demanded, they told us this is what you're going to do. And they wanted an ordinance change. And hopefully I don't get this wrong. Jason's here if I do, but it would basically transfer some of the liability from their spay program to the county away from the Humane Society. And we disagreed with that too. We didn't see the need to put that burden on the taxpayer versus Humane Society. When I look at the Humane Society, I look at two different services. I look at the mandated service, the sheltering animals, the 72-hour thing that where RCW says we need to do, and we're willing to comply with that. Where I think we started getting into, I don't want to pay for their mission, and their mission can be, you can be all kinds of things, a non-kill shelter. You can have these spay and neuter programs. You can do all that. The mission side to me is paid by your donors, by your foundation, by your volunteers. I mean, you see it in other organizations, Ducks Unlimited, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Habitat for Humanity, for crying out loud. They take on the mission and they do that through their donors and whatnot. So we just felt the contract was unreasonable and that we were willing to, we knew there was a lot of foster homes out there and we felt we could tap into that network to those animals that we don't get back to their owners, that we can foster out and they can still do the adoption and they can be taken care of. And so that's the path. We let that contract expire and said, we're going to try that path and see if we can do that. We think it'll be successful. Like I said, we didn't know what would happen on animal control, and that turned out that we actually handled that pretty well. And we think we can handle this well and save the taxpayers and the county some money and still meet the requirements that the RCW has. And I'll tell you, there is one thing that surprised me on this whole thing. I said this yesterday. I was in the private sector 39 years. I worked in the banking industry. This is my 4th year in the public sector. I've been exposed to a lot of contracts, worked with a lot of vendors, seen all that type of stuff. I've never seen a vendor throw themselves on the ground and act like 2-year-olds because we aren't giving them money. That's a first for me. It's been 40 some years and I've never seen that until this time. And it's despicable. I can't even understand the behavior. We're taking another route. We're going to do our best at it. If it doesn't work, we'll figure it out and we'll do something different. But and I think I speak for all three of us, we believe we can do the job and save the taxpayers some money and meet every requirement that is asked of us. So that's where that is. We weren't looking for a fight with anybody. We were just looking for the best interest of your people's pocketbooks. And just based on the knowledge of what we've done in the past, we think we can handle this in the future. And we're going to give it a shot. You guys could add if I missed anything. There's, you can see it's pretty thick timeline that we kept track of a lot of that. And it wasn't anything done out of just, it went through a lot of thought. I mean, we had many conversations and it wasn't a spur of the moment thing. I don't know where else to go with it. I just think we can do it.
I would like to take a minute to clarify that the Daily News article that said that we voted to terminate a contract. That's a total inaccurate statement. There was no vote to terminate a contract. We just let it expire. We put a 1-year extension on there to work with them and try and get a contract. That didn't work out. We let the extension expire and there was no vote to end it. It didn't need to be one. We just let the contract expire because we didn't renew it.
I saw they
Good point.
redacted that statement this morning and clarified that point in the article.
So with that, it's public comment period. If you have any comments on, it doesn't have to be on this, it can be on anything. We just want to address that because we've seen a lot of posts and media stuff. And if people want to talk about it, they're certainly always welcome to, but we're here for anything else too. If you have anything else you want to chat about.
I just want to add real fast.
Yeah.
That the strategy that they employed from the very beginning with telling us that we can't have our kennels and trying to dictate to us how we were going to run our county and our policy and how we were going to spend money was pretty indicative. And Jason brought this up. I'm really not surprised at the tactics that they're taking at this point, given that they have done multiple things throughout this entire process to show us who they really are. And to me, when I look at the actions that they've taken in the manner that they've taken them, it's not about helping animals. It's about expanding a footprint and creating expanding their kingdom, if you will. And they have that in writing themselves, that's the goal is to expand the footprint and to take over Southwest Washington. So, I just heard this morning that they're now going after some of the smaller organizations within our county that we might be contracting with and bad-mouthing them and giving them a hard time and taking these,
Mom and pop, please.
yeah, going after them. And I'm thinking to myself, what kind of an organization does this and does that type of thing? And so I'm even more solidified in my decision to not continue a contract with an organization that treats people that way. I mean, if they treat people that way, how are they treating animals realistically? That's my question. I don't treat people that way. And somebody who treats people that way, you really have to question what their motivation is in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Ms. Dawn, don't disturb your writing. Is the green light on?
Yeah, there we go. And that's what I was going to ask you about, right? Just what Commissioner Rader was just talking about, because you spoke about contract, a lot of foster homes for those not returned to their owners. And so that was my exact
Yeah.
question. Have you already had foster homes step forward and agree to help with this?
We have had homes reach out to us. I don't think we're at the point where we've solidified anything, so I really wouldn't put anything out there, but yeah, we have been reached out by 3 that I'm aware of.
Are you aware of? Yeah, and I wanted to let you guys know too, that I'm sorry the way you've been treated. I saw on Facebook where they were telling people to send out form letters to you, and it's
Oh.
really easy. Just
We
click
all
on
got a
this
lot of
link
formal
and,
letters, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, well, you deserve better, and we appreciate your hard work.
Anything else you guys want to talk about? Ron, you're quiet today. Okay, hearing nothing, we will adjourn. Thanks for being part of us. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Exciting.